It's the most beautiful day here today. I mean, what a summer for Scotland. It's truly gratefully accepted, God. Thank you. I'd like to share with you, you see, the changes from awakening to enlightenment can be assumed as, um, depending on your own experiences of possible similar enlightenments, similar awakenings, or hearing about others awakened, or reading or your religious faith or your spirituality. Um, they can feel as if they're quite, wow, it must be so dramatic. And of course, it is dramatic. You see, that moment of awakening is so dramatic for the mind. I mean, imagine. I can't think of some. I can't even think of a way to describe it. I suppose it's if you can imagine being beaten up by 20 people, constantly beating up, kicking your head, kicking every part of your body, just beating you up constantly. To the extent that you say, I don't want this. I'd rather die. You see, this is how dramatic it is. And something plucks you out of the air, takes you to the riverside of this beautifully peaceful, tranquil, sunlit haven, and places you down at the side and gives you a glass of water, and instantly takes away the wounds. And whatever takes you away, you fall immediately in love with. So it's a transformation from hate and all the systematic ways of the human ego mind of how we would describe a beating up to just unconditional, pure love in 1 second. See, so the story itself took longer, or the method, or the story I used, took longer to tell than the actual awakening. But you have to remember, this beating up has been going on for weeks, months, maybe years for some. For myself, it was a couple of years of, and of course, it wasn't physical, you see, it was constant beating of the mind, of the brain, constantly punishing yourself, constantly, you know, they call it in mental health self-harm. No one's beating me up, I'm beating myself up, I hate myself, I don't want this world anymore. But the feeling of suffocation is incredible in comparison to this moment with something totally loving, that absolutely loves you. So, that's the drama, that moment. The 7 or 9 years afterwards is bliss. Because this one that saves you walks with you every day. Every day. This is the part that's healing the wounds, you see. There's so much in love, the wounds still exist. But you're looking into the eyes of this Saviour. And the wounds, they have to be healed. So this one walks with you, reveals so many wisdom, so many parables, so many lives, so many possibilities of what life is truly about. I suppose the idea of not being connected to anything like religion or whatever makes it easier for the. Whereas if I was religious and I believed in Jesus and or I knew about Jesus and the stories about Jesus, I would have just clicked into this Saviour as Jesus, and it may have just been too much, you know. It may have stopped the healing. That's why I don't know if others have a mind that they want to be pushed into some religious sect. But it's better to be free of all states of mind. That's the way I see it. I wanted to explain what happens after the healing. See, we see that which saves you is boundless. See, so you are, and in science and in our perception of what life is, this is boundless. You look out your window, it's boundless. You go on an airplane or even in a spaceship, it's boundless. Space is boundless. So you're inseparable from this boundlessness. So that's when this non-duality, they call it. You can't see a separation. But of course, the minute you put an identification on yourself again, you become separate. But if you look at speakers like, say, Eckhart Tolle, if he uses the word I and me, it appears as if he's talking about himself. But they're just words. They're not actually, he's not taking it personal, you see. The end product is, you can tell a story about something that you were involved in as a person. And you say, I remember when. But there's not a personal attachment to I remember. This person here remembers. This person remembers. This head remembers. It's just flowing words. Someone says to me, do you identify with I? Well, your mind cannot not identify with I, because you were trained and programmed and conditioned and schooled and spent 50 years, 55 years, 60 years associating with the word I and or me. So the mind cannot not just say, I cannot use these words anymore. But the usage of the words doesn't mean it's a very personal usage of the words. It's something, but this is kind of detachment. Of course it's detachment. If you want to know about, say, consciousness, can you be detached from it? Even if, okay, God, if God comes out of the clouds as a man, are you detached from it? No, because you can perceive it. So you cannot be detached that what is perceived. So this spirit, this consciousness, you say, yeah, I always knew about this. What the hell have I been playing around for? How many lives have I been hiding from this truth, this reality? So when the mind returns, are you detached from it because you cannot see it? Are you detached if you've had a loved one that died 10 years ago, even last year, and you think you hear their name, you see a picture of them, you just remember a certain thing about them? Are you detached from them? You see? We are, as human beings before awakening, overly attached to the person, me, I. Buddha made no excuses. When his enlightenment, he said, enlightenment is nonsense. God is nonsense. He could have been really famous. He could have been one of these saints that reminded, like Jesus was, in a different, that context. Oh, Jesus, Son of God, Son of God. Buddha, Son of God too. No, Buddha says, no Son of God. Just simple, balanced human being. New Buddha nature. Nature is all around us in the universe, within us. We're made up from nature, this body. So we're not detached from soul. We're not detached from spirit. We're not detached from God, if you have a God in mind. Because if you have a God in mind, are you detached from mind? It's the feeling of, or the thought that you've been living with all your life, like everyone else. You're just a man, you're just a woman. You're just bones, flesh, blood, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And you're going to die. And that's fine. They're not telling you any lies, except the words they're using are just, assumed words. This will pass. That's all you have to say. This will pass. This will pass. Everything will pass. But there cannot be anything that can be classed as detached. You cannot be detached from the consciousness that you are. And within this consciousness there's a Bhagavad Gita says different varieties of consciousness. Christ consciousness, transcendental consciousness, cosmic consciousness, God consciousness, universal consciousness, human consciousness, being consciousness. It's just the attachment, which is just a belief, but a belief that's constantly sent to the brain and the mind by yourself or by outside world. You're just a human, you're just a name, you're just Graham, you're just this, you've just got one life, you've just got to live this out, you have to get a job, you are just, if you don't, you're going to be this and that, and you're going to be dead, and you're not going to have another life. And it's like, so you become overly attached to the thoughts, the words. So when you're speaking, when the speaker's speaking, there are words coming, but there's no attachment. Overly attached to the words. There is a memory system, a brain that cannot deny what we have created and programmed and given into this brain. Enlightenment is a time when all of that is sent away for some, I don't know, guardian angel to look at. Oh, Jesus Christ, what a life this guy's had. Why did he do all these things and not pursue? What's the point? So many ideas, so many concepts. Entrepreneur, successful, failure. What the hell's going on? Meanwhile, you're sitting at the river, have a nice glass of water with the most beautiful, beautiful, angelic force, Christ. And he's telling you stories to heal your wounds. He's telling you not stories about what you should do in life, about God and all the beauty and the paradisial love that is available for each one of us as human beings. That's the healing. You see, the healing is the blessing. So the enlightenment, it slowly comes down. and you feel completely different. There's no weight up here, there's nothing happening, there's no attachment to particular thoughts, there's no detachment from the thoughts. If the thoughts come and I have to address them, this I has to address them. Someone may experience loss if you don't address them. Someone may experience something that may be negative towards their life if you don't address the thought that was given to you about them. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. It reminds me of that enlightened state, this rippling lake outside. It's not an actual fact. You don't sit down with a man with Jesus and sandals. But we all have a mind that can diversify and open up so much extreme possibilities about what this is when you stop becoming totally the person and allow yourself to transmit certain frequencies and certain, surrenderings and givings up, and and don't fixate on the day-to-day living life of a human being. You don't say you are anything more special than what you were before, but you understand this spirit consciousness, this awakening, this enlightenment, this God, this Jesus, this Buddha, they are extremely, extremely unconditional, loving beings. They are super duper at opening up your whole expansive self. I think that's what the Vedanta's called, your whole self, not just a little minuscule insignificant thing. And you understand this moment, this presence is all that exists. You understand about Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now. You don't have to read the book. You understand about Papaji when he says one moment. You understand the transition of becoming non-dual when you completely always deny the identity of who is asking the question. Who is the who and who am I? I'm not the I. I'm not the I. I'm not the am. I'm not the who. I'm not the questioner. So who is observing the question? I'm not the observer. The minute you think there's an answer through a human constructed body, it's going to be your downfall. The answer is when you give everything up and surrender everything. And on that moment of awakening, you're discovered very clean, full of nonsense, but a quick, you this way, nonsense that way. Let's go. I have a glass of water waiting for you. And your eyes are just so in love. So in love. And you understand many years later when you hear the term Christ says, when the mind is reborn. These words of Christ are not. The Bible has been misinterpreted, misinformed, misdirected, whatever. But St. Thomas is 100% true. If you read beyond the words and understand what this Christ was trying to tell each one of us, the meaning is pretty much guaranteed. That's all I can say about that. Thank you.